7:42, August 17th, 1943. The sun in New Guinea doesn't just rise, it attacks. It's already 85 degrees at Doadarura airfield. Humidity so thick you can taste the salt and the rot. Technical Sergeant James McKenna is under the left wing of a P-38 Lightning. He's crouched there, watching. His hands are stained with grease that never really comes off. He's watching his pilot, Lieutenant Robert Hayes. Hayes is 23. He's from Iowa. Still has that farm boy look in his eyes, but the look is fading. 6 missions, 0 kills, nothing. In 10 minutes, Hayes is going up to meet 18 Mitsubishi Zeros. 18. McKenna knows the math. The math says Hayes probably won't come back for lunch. McKenna has been living with these P-38s for 8 months. He knows every bolt, every rivet, every leak. It's a beast. 2 engines, twin booms, fast. So fast in a straight line it'll make your head spin. At high altitude, it's the king. But there's a secret, a dirty secret that's killing kids every single day. The Lightning can't turn. Not like a Zero. A Zero is like a dragonfly. Lighter, faster in the curve. It can pull a full circle while the P-38 is still thinking about it. In a dogfight, that's not a disadvantage. It's a death sentence. The big shots at the 5th Air Force have a doctrine. They call it hit and run. Dive in, shoot, get out, don't turn, never turn with a Zero. Simple, right? On paper, it's perfect. In the air? It's a lie. Hayes tried the doctrine. 5 times he followed the book. 5 times he almost died. The Japanese pilots, they aren't stupid. They know the book too. They bait the Americans. They force the turn. They cut inside and then it's over. 37 P-38s lost in 6 weeks. 37? That's a lot of empty beds in the barracks. McKenna sees them leave. He doesn't always see them come back. Sometimes they come back in boxes. Sometimes they don't come back at all. The training manual says it's pilot error. The instructors say follow the doctrine. They say the pilots are getting scared and making mistakes. McKenna knows that's horse crap. He knows it's not the pilots. He knows it's the machine. He's felt it. The P-38 has these long control cables. They run through the booms, all the way to the tail, then back to the wings. Pulleys, brackets, cables, and there's slack. Just a little, maybe 3/8 of an inch. A tiny bit of play in the system. To an engineer in California, it's nothing. To a pilot at 400 miles per hour, it's everything. You move the stick. You wait. Just a fraction of a second. A lag. A delay. The airplane feels mushy. It feels slow. At high speed, you don't notice. But when you're low, when you're fighting for your life in a hard turn, that fraction of a second is the difference between life and a fireball in the jungle, McKenna told the engineering officer. 2 months ago, he said the cables were loose. The officer looked at his clipboard. Specifications. That's all he cared about. He said the tension was within factory tolerances. He said if McKenna messed with it, he'd void the warranty. A warranty. In the middle of a damn war. He said modifying flight controls required approval from Lockheed. And Lockheed was 7,000 miles away. 7,000 miles. Pilots are dying now, not in 7,000 miles. So McKenna did it. He stopped caring about the manual. He stopped caring about the warranty. He found a piece of piano wire. Just a scrap from a wrecked plane, 6 inches long. He bent it. A Z shape. A simple little thing. He crawled into that boom and he put it on the cable. A tensioner. It took 8 minutes. 8 minutes to change the whole plane. It added less than half a pound of tension. But the slack, gone. Completely gone. No lag, no delay. He didn't tell a soul. Not the inspection crew, not the officer. They were too busy looking at oil levels and ammo belts. McKenna just stood there. He watched Hayes taxi out. the engines screaming, the dust blowing everywhere. He watched that P-38 lift off and vanish into the blue, heading toward the Zeros. McKenna's heart was in his throat. He knew what he'd done. He knew he'd broken every rule in the book. If Hayes crashed because of that wire, McKenna was going to prison, or worse. But he kept thinking about Lieutenant Chen. Chen was the first one McKenna lost. July 9th. Chen was from Sacramento. McKenna was from Long Beach. They used to talk about cars, about the Pacific Coast Highway. Chen was a good kid. 3 weeks in theater. He came back from a sweep with holes in his boom. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. He told McKenna the plane wouldn't move. He said he moved the stick, but the airplane just sat there. Just for a second. But a second is forever, when a Zero is behind you. Chen didn't fly that plane again. He got a different one. And 3 weeks later, Chen was dead over Rabaul. Caught in a turn. Couldn't roll out. Same story. McKenna heard it again and again. Captain Morrison was next. Morrison was a pro. 11 kills. He knew the P-38 better than anyone. August 3rd, over Oro Bay. Morrison tried to split S away from 2 Zeros. He called it out on the radio. His last words. "My controls are mushy." He was fighting the plane, not the Japanese. He was fighting the cables. He died at 4,000 feet. Rodriguez was Morrison's crew chief. He was McKenna's buddy. He checked that wreckage. He checked everything. Cable tension, within spec. Control rigging, within spec. The official report said, pilot error. Pilot error. McKenna wanted to scream. By the middle of August, McKenna had seen 17 of them go down. 17 kids. He'd signed their logs. He'd wiped the oil off their windshields. He'd watched them taxi out. And he knew. He knew that tiny bit of slack was killing them. He could hear it. When he plucked the cables during maintenance, they had a sound. A low twang. Like a guitar that's out of tune. Every P-38 on the line had that sound. Loose. Within spec, but loose. McKenna told Rodriguez about the wire. Rodriguez got quiet. He asked if it would work. McKenna said, yeah, it'll work, but it'll get us court-martialed. The problem wasn't the pilots. They knew what to do. They were brave. They were smart. But the machine was lagging. It was like trying to win a race in a truck with a loose steering wheel. Hayes was the last straw. 23 years old, a farm kid. He followed the rules. He stayed in the doctrine, and the rules were going to get him killed. On his 4th mission, he had a Zero in his sights. Perfect deflection. He rolled to follow, but the plane felt like it was moving through mud. He missed the shot, and he almost got his tail blown off. He came home with smoke pouring out of his engines. Then Thomas Parker died. August 14th. Parker and Hayes were best friends. They went through flight school together. Hayes heard him die on the radio. He heard the gunfire. He heard the scream. Then silence. That night Hayes couldn't sleep. Nobody could. Parker's bed was empty. His stuff was already in a box. The maintenance log said no mechanical issues. Pilot error. Again. McKenna had worked on Parker's plane that morning. He knew it was perfect, according to the book. But the book was wrong. The book was killing them. The smell of the airfield always stayed with McKenna. The fuel, the hot metal, the hydraulic fluid. It's the smell of death preparing itself. On the evening of the 16th, Hayes came to see him. He looked old. He looked tired. He asked McKenna if there was anything at all to make the plane roll faster. He didn't care about regulations. He just wanted a chance. He looked McKenna in the eye, and McKenna saw the fear. McKenna told him to come back in the morning. He told him he'd see what he could do. McKenna waited until it was dark, until the airfield went quiet. 2,300 hours, just the bugs and the generators. He pulled the panel off, he grabbed the cable, he felt it, 3/8 of an inch, just like he thought. His hands were shaking. He had the wire, the piece of piano wire. He sat on the floor with his pliers and he started to bend. It's the sound that stays with you. Not the engines, not the guns. It's the sound of the cables. McKenna couldn't stop hearing it. He'd go to a plane, any plane. He'd reach into the dark of the boom and pluck the steel. Twang, a low, sickly, hollow sound. It was the sound of a lag, a delay, a ghost in the machine. Every P-38 on that line sounded the same. Loose, just loose enough. The manual said it was fine. The engineering officer said it was within spec. Within spec. McKenna hated those words. Within spec didn't keep you alive when a zero was carving a circle around your tail. He kept thinking about David Chen, Sacramento kid. Liked fast cars and cold beer. Chen came back that one time with his boom looking like Swiss cheese. He was shaking. He told McKenna. He said, "Mac, I moved the stick. I swear I moved it, but the plane just sat there. It felt like it was thinking about it, like it was moving through syrup." Chen survived that day. But the plane he flew next, it didn't have a wingman to save it. Same story. A turning fight, a slow roll, a fireball over a bowl. Then there was Captain Morrison. Morrison was the best they had. 11 kills. He knew the lightning better than the guys who built it. August 3rd. McKenna can still hear the radio static. Morrison's voice. Calm at first, then tight, then screaming. "My controls are mushy, mushy." That's what he said. He was fighting the plane, not the zeros. He was fighting the slack in his own wings. He went down at 4,000 feet. Rodriguez, Morrison's crew chief. He was a wreck. He went to the crash site. He checked everything. Cable tension, pulleys, rigging. He told McKenna. He said, "It's perfect, Mac. Everything is right where the book says it should be. Everything is within spec. But Morrison is dead." Rodriguez didn't believe the book anymore. Neither did McKenna. 17 pilots. 17. Gone in 6 weeks. McKenna signed their logs every morning. He felt like he was signing their death warrants. He'd watch them taxi out, the dust, the noise, and he'd wonder if he'd be the one packing their lockers that night. The smell of that place. It never left him. High-octane fuel, hot aluminum, and that damp, rotting smell of the New Guinea jungle. It's the smell of a machine waiting to fail you. McKenna told the engineering officer again. He tried to explain. He said, "It's the lag. It's the tension. We need to tighten them up." The officer just looked at his specs. He said, "It's pilot error, Sergeant. They're over-controlling. They're panicking. If we tighten them, we void the warranty. A warranty in a jungle, thousands of miles from home. It was insane. It was murder." McKenna knew the pilots weren't panicking. They were fighting for their lives with a steering wheel that had a dead spot. He started carrying that piece of piano wire. Just a scrap. From a ground-looped wreck. He didn't know why yet. He just knew he couldn't keep plucking those loose cables and doing nothing. He talked to Rodriguez one night, behind the barracks. He told him about the wire. He told him he could fix it. Rodriguez looked at him like he was crazy. He said, "They'll court-martial you, Mac. They'll throw you in the brig and melt the key." McKenna didn't care. He looked at the empty bunks in his hut. He looked at the letters on the tables that would never be finished. He thought about Hayes. Hayes was 23, a kid from Iowa who did everything by the book. and the book was going to kill him. Hayes came to him on the 16th. He didn't have to say much. The look in his eyes said it all. It was the look of a man who knew his number was up. He asked for a chance. Just a chance. McKenna told him to come back. He said he'd see what he could do. So there he was, 2,300 hours. The hangar was a tomb, just the hum of the generators. McKenna pulled the panel. He grabbed the cable. He felt the slack, 3/8 of an inch. To an engineer, it's a tolerance. To McKenna, it was the weight of 17 dead men. He sat on the floor. His hands were greasy. His thumb was bleeding. He had the pliers. He had the wire. He started to bend. He made a zer, a simple zer. It felt heavy, like he was bending his own fate. If he did this, there was no going back. He was a mechanic. He was supposed to fix things. But the army said this wasn't fixing. It was sabotage. He didn't care. He just kept bending. He thought about the sound of a tight cable. A high, sharp, clean note. That's what Hayes needed. That's what they all needed. He finished the bend. He looked at the little piece of wire. It looked like nothing. It looked like junk, but it was the only thing standing between Robert Hayes and a grave in the jungle. He stood up. His knees popped. He looked around the dark hangar. One last check. No one was watching. Just the ghosts of Chen and Morrison. He reached into the boom. He felt for the pulley. It was time to stop plucking and start fixing. The air in New Guinea doesn't just sit, it rots. It smells like aviation fuel and dead things. Always. But on the night of August 14th, it smelled like failure. Thomas Parker was gone, 21 years old. Boston kid, a lot of energy, a lot of life. Just gone. 1 minute he's on the radio, panic in his voice, screaming that the plane won't turn, that it won't respond. Then, gunfire, static, silence. That silence is the loudest thing you'll ever hear. Robert Hayes heard it. He heard his best friend die because a bunch of engineers in California cared more about a warranty than a life. That night, nobody slept. You could feel it in the barracks, the empty bed, the silence. It was a weight, a heavy, suffocating weight. Hayes came to me on the evening of the 16th. He didn't look 23 anymore. He looked 100. He looked like a man who had already seen his own grave. He didn't ask about the manual. He didn't ask about the rules. He just asked for a chance. "Give me a chance, Mac." That's what he said. Just a chance. I looked at him. I saw Chen. I saw Morrison. I saw Parker. I saw 17 kids who followed the rules and ended up as smoke over the jungle. I told him to come back in the morning. I told him I'd see. But I already knew. I already knew what I had to do. I waited until 2,300 hours. The hangar was a tomb, dark, humid. The only sound was the generators and the bugs hitting the lights. Thump, thump, thump. My heart was doing the same thing. I went to Hayes's P-38, the left boom. The metal was still warm, like it was alive. I pulled the inspection panel. I reached in. I felt the cable, 3/8 of an inch of slack. It felt like a trap. I had the wire, the piano wire. I'd taken it from a wreck 2 weeks ago. High tensile steel, strong, unforgiving. I sat on the cold hangar floor with my pliers. My hands were shaking. I wasn't just bending wire. I was bending the law. I was committing a crime. If they found me, court-martial, dishonorable discharge, prison, or worse. But then I thought about Parker's empty bed, and the shaking stopped. I bent the wire, a Z shape. It was stiff. It fought me. It cut my thumb. I didn't care. The blood made the pliers slippery. I wiped it on my coveralls and I kept going. 8 minutes. That's all it took. 8 minutes to fix what the genius engineers couldn't. Installing it was the hard part. The space inside that boom. It's tight. It's a coffin. I was working with one hand, holding a flashlight in my mouth. My shoulder was wedging against the metal. It cut into me. I didn't feel it. I was focused on that pulley. I dropped the clevis pin. I heard it bounce. Ting, ting, ting. My heart stopped. I spent 5 minutes in the dark, feeling around, sweating, praying. I found it. I got the wire in. I reconnected the cable. I pulled it. No slack, none. The control surface moved the second I touched the cable. It was perfect. It was beautiful. I put the panel back. I cleaned my tools. I wiped the blood off the wing. I walked out of that hangar at 01:15. The night was still. I felt like a ghost. I'd just committed sabotage in the eyes of the army. But in my heart, I'd given a kid a shield. I went to my bunk. I didn't sleep. I just watched the ceiling, waiting for the sun, waiting for the engines, waiting to see if my sin would save a life or end one. I could hear the Japanese night raiders in the distance, that low drone. It made my stomach turn. I kept thinking about the wire. Was it enough? Was it too much? If it snapped in a dive? Hayes would go straight into the ground. I'd be his executioner. But if I did nothing, he was already dead. The math was simple. The risk was everything. I saw the first light of dawn, gray, cold. I walked to the flight line. I watched them fuel the plane. I watched Hayes walk out. He looked at me. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I just nodded. He climbed in. The engines started. That twin-engine roar. It usually sounds like power. That morning, it sounded like a question. At 0742, he took off. I stood there until the tail disappeared into the clouds. And then, I waited. The waiting is the worst part. You count the minutes. You listen for the radio. You look at your greasy hands and you wonder if you're a hero or a criminal. The sun got higher. The heat started to burn. And somewhere over the Gulf, Robert Hayes was about to find out what a piece of piano wire was worth. He was flying number 3. 4 P-38s against 9 zeros. The odds were standard. The outcome was supposed to be standard. But nothing about that day was going to be standard. I sat on an ammo crate and I waited. I thought about Sacramento. I thought about Long Beach. I thought about all the things we were going to do after the war. If there was an after the war. The radio in the ready room started to crackle. Voices, distant, excitement, not the usual panic. Something was different. I could hear the element leader. He was calling out a bounce. They were diving. This was it. This was the moment. I closed my eyes and I prayed for that wire to hold. I prayed for the Z-shape. I prayed for the kid from Iowa. Because if he didn't come back, I was going to follow him to the brig. And I wouldn't even fight it. I'd deserve it. 8:14. Huon Gulf. The sun is at their backs. Perfect. Hayes is flying number 3. He sees the zeros. 9 of them, just cruising. They don't know he's there. He rolls in. He pushes the nose down. The speed builds. 300, 350, 380. Usually at this speed, the P-38 feels like a brick. You want to turn? You have to wrestle it. But not today. Today, something is different. Hayes picks a 0, the one at the back. He gets close. He sees the red circle. He sees the pilot's head. He squeezes the trigger. The guns scream. 5 machine guns and a cannon. It's like a hammer hitting a tin roof. Tracers everywhere. He hits the wing. The 0 rolls. It dives to escape. Normally. This is where Hayes loses him. This is where the lag kills the shot. But Hayes follows. He moves the stick. And the plane. The plane snaps. It doesn't wait. It doesn't think. It just rolls. Right now. Right then. Hayes has never felt anything like it. It's like the plane is part of his own body. He gets the nose down. He fires again. A 3-second burst, right into the cockpit. The Zero's engine just quits. Then it explodes. Fire. Black smoke. Pieces of metal flying past the canopy. His first kill. But there's no time. His wingman is screaming. Zero's coming down. 3 of them. They saw him. They want him. Hayes pushes the throttles. He tries to climb. But they're too fast. They're closing. He has to turn. Doctrine says don't turn. Doctrine says run. But Hayes knows he can't outrun them. Not today. He reverses. He pulls the stick hard left. The P-38 snaps around. It's violent. It's fast. The lead Zero didn't expect it. No P-38 should be able to move that fast. The Zero is exposed. Hayes pulls lead. He fires. He hits the wing root. The wing just folds. Gone. 2 kills. 30 seconds. The other 2 Zeros try to scissor. They're alternating turns, trying to make him overshoot. Hayes stays with them. Every time they flip, he flips. No delay. No fighting the controls. He's inside their turn. Inside. In a lightning. It's impossible. But he's doing it. He gets close. 200 feet. He fires. The Zero comes apart in midair. Debris hits Hayes' boom. A loud bang. But the plane is still flying. 3 kills. The last Zero. He sees what happened. He turns and runs. He doesn't want any of this. 7 minutes. That's all it took. 7 minutes to change history. Hayes reforms. He's shaking. He's out of ammo. He heads for home. He lands at 0903. I was waiting. I was standing on the line. I saw him taxi in. He shut down the engines. He didn't even wait for the ladder. He jumped out. He was soaked, sweating like he'd been in the ocean. He walked straight to me. He didn't look at the kills painted on the nose. He didn't look at the holes in his boom. He just looked at me. It worked. That's all he said. It worked. I felt the weight leave my chest. I felt like I could breathe for the first time in weeks. But we weren't alone. Captain Frank Mitchell saw the whole thing. He was at 15,000 feet. He saw a P-38 outturning Zeros. He knew it shouldn't happen. He found Hayes in the debriefing room. He asked him. "What happened?" Hayes told him. "Talk to Mac." Mitchell found me 2 hours later. I was covered in grease, working on another plane. He didn't yell. He didn't talk about court-martials. He asked me what I did. I told him. The wire, the Z-shape, the illegal tensioner. Mitchell listened. He didn't say a word. Then he asked me to do his plane. He'd lost 4 pilots in a month. He was tired of burying kids. He said the regulations could wait. He said he wanted to give his men a fighting chance. So I did it. I modified Mitchell's plane that night. Same wire, same 8 minutes. He flew it the next day. He came back raving. He told his wingman. The wingman told his crew chief. By August 20th, I'd done 9 planes. Word was spreading. Not through the officers, through the grease monkeys, through the guys who actually turn the wrenches. We called it the wire mod. It was a secret, a cult. Crew chiefs were showing each other how to bend the Z, how to hide it from the inspectors. We'd pull them out before the official checks and put them back in after. It was a game, a dangerous game. But the kills, they were real. Hayes got 2 more on the 22nd. Mitchell got 3 on the 25th. The numbers were shifting. We were losing fewer pilots. We were winning. And all because of a 6-inch piece of piano wire that wasn't supposed to be there. We were rebels. We were criminals. But we were bringing our boys home. The Japanese felt it first. Late August. They knew something was wrong. They didn't know what, but they felt it. The P-38 wasn't moving like a bus anymore. It was moving like a ghost. Their flight reports started changing. They said the Americans were aggressive. They said the lightnings were reversing too fast, snapping, rolling, breaking the laws of physics. Saburo Sakai, the ace, 64 kills. He knew every trick in the book. On September 3rd, he met one of our modified planes over Wewak. He tried his favorite move, a hard turn, a quick reversal. He'd done it 1,000 times. He knew exactly when the P-38 would lag. He knew the timing by heart. But the P-38 didn't lag. It reversed with him. It was right there. Head on. Sakai almost died that day. He had to dive away. He went home, confused, frustrated. He told his commanders the lightnings were different. The Japanese intelligence guys, they went crazy. They checked the wreckage of the planes they shot down. They looked at the engines, the guns, the fuel. Everything was the same. They couldn't see the wire. It was hidden in the boom, a 6-inch piece of scrap. Even if they saw it, they wouldn't understand. They were looking for a new weapon. They weren't looking for a mechanic's middle finger to the manual. By late September, the ratio was dead even. Then it flipped. For the first time in the war, the P-38 was the hunter. The Zero, it was the prey. The Japanese pilots started to get scared. They stopped pressing attacks. They became hesitant. You can't fight a ghost you don't understand. In October, an inspector at Doa Darura noticed something. He saw the tension readings were wrong. He found the wire in a plane. Then another. Then another. He wrote a report. The big shots debated it for weeks. They wanted to punish the mechanics. They wanted to talk about regulations, sabotage. But the kill counts were right there on the wall. They couldn't ignore the math. In November, Lockheed sent an engineering team. They looked at my Z-wire. They measured it. They tested it. They said it was safe. They said it was brilliant. And then, they took it. They put a similar system into the P-38J model. They put it into production in December. They called it engineering analysis. They called it progress. My name? McKenna. It wasn't in the report. Not once. I didn't get a medal. I didn't get a pat on the back. I just got my tools. The war ended. Hayes went back to Iowa. He grew corn. He flew crop dusters for 37 years. He married his girl. He had 4 kids. Every year. Every single year. On August 17th, the phone would ring in my garage. It was Hayes. He'd just say thank you. He'd say thank you for the wire. I went back to Long Beach. I fixed cars. I didn't talk about the war. To my neighbors, I was just the guy with grease under his fingernails. Just a mechanic. In 1991, a historian found my name. He found the old logs. He tracked me down in my garage. I was 73. He asked me about the wire. He told me he figured I saved 100 lives, maybe more. 100 pilots who didn't go down in flames. I told him I didn't count. I just remembered the ones who came back. Hayes, Mitchell, Rodriguez. That was my medal. That was my credit. I died in 2006, buried in California. My obituary says I was a mechanic. It doesn't mention the wire. It doesn't mention how I changed the air war with a piece of junk and a pair of pliers. My garage is still there. Someone else owns it now. But in the back, there's a photo. A young guy in dirty coveralls standing next to a lightning. August 1943. That's how it happens. Innovation doesn't come from a boardroom. It comes from the mud. It comes from a guy who's tired of seeing his friends die. It comes from a sergeant who doesn't wait for permission to be a hero. Remember that. Next time you see a P-38 in a museum, look at the tail. Think about the wire. Think Think about the kids who came home because a mechanic broke the rules.